Ready? Join with computer audio.
I want to show you some fungus in my backyard. That's why I'm out.
Audio.
Did it start?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Hello.
On Spencer's birthday. Yellow.
Hi guys.
Hello. Hi, Sam.
Hey, can I
Why did you send me a yeet message? Hey, Adam. Hi. How you doing? Good.
Okay.
Buddy, no. That was lousy, Chen. I cannot scream as loud as I can.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good.
I have
Good.
some like a lot of different kinds of I have crusty kind of.
Lichen?
I think I broke soon.
I have some tiny shrubbies, some leafies.
Yeah, I definitely broke soon.
I have some tiny shrubbies, leafies, and some crusty. They're all on one tree.
What does crusty look like?
Oh, I can show you. Yeah. Basically, and leafy looks like this. Oh, I can't find it. Okay. But I really want somewhere. Yeah. You can't. So here.
I don't know if it's gonna work.
I can't find it. I think that's the leafy. This is the crusty. Oh, and the shrubbies are over here.
Wow.
I want different one.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
all 3 kinds. They're so cool.
That is cool.
Peace. I just saw a bunny. I don't.
Okay. Awesome, Danny. Thanks for showing us.
We got. Cute little bunny. I'm doing this because I just saw a bunny run into where the computer report.
Give me just a second, okay?
Yeah.
Somebody's calling me. Jazzy? Okay, 1 second.
Black one.
I'm gonna mute everyone. Yes, Jazzy.
Do you know what kind of shell this is?
Ooh, it looks familiar. I'd have to, here, you know what? I'm sitting right by the shell book. So let's see. That one is a fairly common one. I see that one a lot. Ooh, does it look like this one? Kind of?
Kind of.
Because that says it's a flat periwinkle.
It has like dots, black dots all over.
Oh, okay, let me see if there's one that has more dots. Where did you get it?
It's either I got it from somebody or I found it at the beach.
Oh, okay. It's definitely not a mussel or an oyster or a clam. I think it's some kind of periwinkle.
Maybe.
Let's see if this book tells me. This book is not so much for identifying shells. And the shell identification book is over there.
Is it Nana?
Yeah, I think it's a periwinkle of some kind. But I know that. Goodness. So Jazz, if you want to send me a picture of it, I can continue to help you try to identify it. Or maybe there's some other friends that would like to help you, maybe even launch a shell project. That would be fun. There was a shell project going before school, the building closed, wasn't there? Yeah. All right.
Are you at school today?
What's that, Adam?
Are you at school today?
I am at school today, yes. I try to come to school Tuesdays and Thursdays. That gives me a chance to pick up any materials I might need for lessons or, and check in with Miss Yercy a little bit. Okay, so we're on chapter 13. But if you remember from last time, there is no chapter 13 because 13 is an unlucky number. I know, you're probably thinking, again with the superstition about the number 13? To that, I shall answer, superstitions are not so easily eradicated. Who among you doesn't flinch when a black cat crosses your path? Do you avoid walking under ladders? And what about broken mirrors? 7 years can seem like an eternity when dealing with bad luck. Just like in the first book, I think it's best we skip this chapter. While I work on my fear of 13, why don't you enjoy a performance from Ridley's Top Hat? There's the performance. That rabbit doesn't do much, does it? Other than wiggle its cute little nose, I mean. Great. Well, let's get back to it. Go on and turn the page. Chapter 14. After breakfast, Lila and Carter met up in the secret room at the back of the magic shop before it opened for the day. I was thinking, Lila whispered. Again? Carter asked with a grin. Last night before bed, Dad mentioned that he and his friends would meet in the rear wing of the lodge. What if that was his roundabout way of saying, go look there? We've wanted answers about his old club. The abandoned wing might be where we find them. Carter nodded. True, even if that wasn't what he was saying, it's still worth an expedition. Let's call the others and see if they can meet us after Dad gets back from the grocery store, said Lila. A knock sounded at the shop's front door. Lila and Carter leapt out from the secret room and closed the entry quietly. Lila came around the aisle and, to her surprise, found Sandra waving through the window. Her hair was pulled back in a wild ponytail, and she wore a soiled blue smock over a pair of dark jeans. The only indication that she was the Madame Esmeralda was her familiar white star-shaped earrings. Lila unlocked the door and let her in. Good morning, my friends, Sandra exclaimed. Hi, Sandra, said Lila. Are you ready for your show? Asked Carter. I spent all last night going over my usual routine, said Sandra. Today, I'm doing some cleanup at my house around the corner and thought I'd stop by to ask Lila an important question. She removed a large deck of colorful cards from the pocket of her jeans and gave them a quick shuffle. Next, she spread them out on the counter in a fan shape before plucking one from the center and turning it over. The image on the card was unlike any pictures Lila had ever seen on her dad's regular decks. Instead, there was an elaborate illustration showing a woman kneeling by a natural pool underneath light beaming down from 7 stars overhead. The woman on the card poured water from 2 jugs. One stream fell into the pool and the other fell onto the land. My tarot cards predict that you will say yes. Shouldn't I hear the question first? Lila asked. Oh, I suppose so, Sandra chuckled. I would be honored if you would agree to be my opening act at the Grand Theater. Lila glanced at Carter, who stared back in surprise. You want me to be your opening act? She felt faint. Tomorrow night? Sandra nodded hopefully. Brilliant, said Carter. But why me? Asked Lila. Why not the other misfits? We won't have time for everyone to show off their skills, but you are talented and enthusiastic, and I think you'll be great. Don't you think Dante will adore seeing you on stage? I hope so, Lila answered, her voice wobbling. Don't worry, said Carter. I'll give you tips on how to work a crowd. She already knows how to do that, said Sandra. She's Lila Vernon. She can do anything. Carter and Lila were sitting on the shop's floor, cutting up and tying pieces of rope together in preparation for Lila's first solo act. Mr. Vernon came through the front door, followed by Theo and Ridley. Look who I found wandering around outside, said Mr. Vernon. I don't know what we would have done if he hadn't come along, said Ridley. We might have gone on wandering forever, Theo added with his soft smile. Mr. Vernon nodded at the knotted mess on the floor between Lila and Carter. Are we planning on tying up several tiny people this morning? Even better, said Carter, nudging Lila. Go on, tell him. Lila's face grew red. Sandra stopped by, and she asked me to be her opening act tomorrow at the Grand Oak. Awesome, Ridley yelled with a raised fist. Congratulations, Lila, said Theo. You deserve it, most assuredly. Mr. Vernon knelt down and wrapped his arms around her, giving her a warm squeeze. That is truly spectacular, honey, he whispered into her ear. We've been trying to figure out how her act should go, said Carter. He snapped his fingers and a pair of thumb cuffs appeared in his hand. I suggested using these. Lila took the device from him, snapped the tiny cuffs around her thumbs, and held up her hands to show the others. I don't think the effect will be enough for the Grand Oak stage. She wriggled her fingers, and the cuffs fell to the floor with a clatter. See? Not impressive. I am impressed, Theo said, examining the small cuffs. Lila glanced at Mr. Vernon. I was hoping that Dad would teach us how to do the amazing escape act that I saw him do on the day I met him. The one with the assistants in masks and the oilcloth hood. That one took my friends and me months of practice, said Mr. Vernon. Lila's grin hid her disappointment. You'll teach me one day, won't you? Of course, when we have more time. Sandra says the show starts at 8 o'clock tomorrow. You'll be there, right, Dad? Mr. Vernon frowned. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I have some very important business at the store at that time. Lila couldn't believe her ears. More important than my first solo act? I'm going to be on stage by myself at the Grand Theater, and Sandra really wants you to be there. I'm sure Sandra does, Mr. Vernon answered, but your papa will come. And all your friends, you'll have oodles of support, the whole town. I don't want the whole town. I want you. In that case, said Mr. Vernon, perking up even more, we'll have a Vernon's Magic Shop exclusive after you get home. He waved a showman's flourish. Lila's encore. How about that? Lila's face fell. Immediately, Mr. Vernon softened, leaning closer to her. I am so, so sorry. If there was any other way, but there's not. I'll make it up to you, I promise. He held out his hand and a bouquet of pink feather flowers appeared in a blink. Though she took them from him, she couldn't help but pay for them with a sad smile. Chapter 15. After they had spent most of the day preparing her set, Carter dragged Lila out of the shop for a well-deserved break. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To the Grand Oak Resort to meet our friends," Carter answered with a sly smile. Theo and Ridley were on the back patio. Now they just waited for Ollie and Izzy to arrive. Late afternoon light streamed through the trees, tossing dappled shadows against the walls of the building. Lila thought of the strange lights that she'd seen in the windows during Madame Esmeralda's seance. Together, the four misfits guessed at what they might find inside the old building. Ridley perched eagerly forward in her chair, staring at the door of the abandoned wing. It was open a crack. A sliver of shadow stared back at them. "That bellhop must have forgotten to lock up yesterday," Ridley noted. "Or maybe a ghost unlocked it for us," Theo said. "I'm not sure I believe in ghosts," Lila said, "but there's still something about this old place that gives me the chills." "Me too," said Theo. "Me three," Carter added with a grin. "We're not here to investigate ghosts today, though. We're here to learn more about the Emerald Ring. Let's tuck the supernatural concerns away for now." Once more, Lila clutched at the key at her chest. It felt good to have something to hold on to. The key grounded her, as did having her friends at her side. "Always together," a voice said into her ear. "Never apart," added another voice at her other ear. Lila wasn't sure which way to spin, but when she did turn, she found that Ollie and Izzy had crept up on the rest of the misfits, as they tended to do. "Where's Madame Esmeralda?" asked Ollie, holding up one of the field mice. Izzy held up her own mouse, adding, "We wanted to show her the trick we taught Ozzy and Illy." "I thought it was Ollie and Izzy," said Ridley, scrunching up her forehead. "That's us," said Izzy. "These guys are Ozzy and Illy." "Sandra's in the auditorium prepping for the show," Lila interrupted before the conversation could grow any more exasperating. "We're so excited for you," said Ollie. "Congratulations, Lila," said Izzy. "It's a huge deal to be an opening act at the Grand Theater." Uh-oh, can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Okay. Sorry, Kea, I think it might be your end that's not working. Think of the openers who've warmed up audiences for all the great performers over the years. Ridley looked curious. "Like who?" Ollie and Izzy glanced at each other, then shrugged. "Well, thank you," Lila bowed graciously. "What's the trick?" Theo asked the twins, nodding at the mice. "Oh, right." Ollie presented his mouse again. Izzy held up her mouse beside his. He waggled his fingers at the two rodents. "I've hypnotized them both to stop speaking." Everyone waited. The mice did nothing but sniff at the air between them. "They're fast learners," said Izzy. "So impressive," said Ollie, "aren't they?" "Do you really want to know the answer to that?" asked Ridley. Ollie and Izzy shook their heads. They were used to receiving critiques about their performances, but not from Ridley. Friends, take note. Sometimes your audience is not going to respond the way you would like them to. Most times you can't escape by running off stage and hiding, so it's a good idea to learn to let words roll off you, like water off a duck's back. Yes, Ava.
I wasn't raising my hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where was I? Okay. Ridley sighed. "Okay, now that that's over with, who's ready to explore?" "If the door is already unlocked, is it wrong to enter?" Lila wondered aloud as she pushed the door open. It creaked all the way until it finally stopped and the building beckoned the children to enter. "That's debatable," said Carter, walking in first. The others followed. "I'll ask my uncle, the criminal, the next time I see him, which I hope is never." The entryway was filled with junk, bags of cement, broken lawn furniture, dusty croquet mallets, weathered rowboats and oars, all stacked up against the walls. This part of the hotel had been closed up for such a long time that every surface was coated in dust. "Look there," said Theo, pointing at the floor. "Footprints." "Someone's been in here recently," Carter whispered. "The bellhop did say they used this area for storage," Ridley recalled. "At least the footprints are human," said Izzy. When the others gave her a funny look, she shrugged. "I didn't mean monsters. They could have been rabid raccoon tracks." "Or coyote," Ollie added. "Or bear," Izzy went on. "Or monkey," said Carter. The misfits cleared a path to allow Ridley's chair to fit through, and then they made their way into the main hall. Several streaks of sunlight slanted across the space, dusty motes turning lazily in the beams. At the end of the hall, another door waited for them. This one, however, was chained shut. Lila pushed forward. "This lock is nothing." She pulled her tools from her pocket and got to work. In no time, the lock and chains were on the floor, and the misfits were moving on. The next hallway was darker, packed with shadows and cobwebs and a musty smell that made everyone want to cough. Closed doors lined the hall on both sides. "Did your dad mention where in the abandoned wing the emerald ring used to hang out?" Theo asked as they came to a staircase. One set of steps went up to the second floor. The other went down to a dark basement. "Of course not," said Lila. "Dad never gives away the answer to anything unless he absolutely has to." "Mr. Vernon is training us to think for ourselves," said Carter. "Training is for animals," said Ridley. "I wish he would just spill the beans already." "I think we just need to look around a little bit," said Lila. "Ollie and Izzy, you check the rooms on that side of the hallway," Lila suggested. "Me and Ridley will explore this side, and Theo and Carter can keep a lookout at both ends." "Us?" Theo and Carter spouted at the same time. "Unless you're scared," Lila teased. "I can only speak for myself," said Theo. "The answer is yes, but that does not mean I will shy away from it, and neither shall Carter." Carter cringed. "Right." "Okay then," said Ridley. "Let's meet out here in 10 minutes, or just holler if you find anything." "But be sure to scream if you see a ghost," said Lila. "Silly," said Izzy. "Madame Esmeralda got rid of all the ghosts yesterday." When no one said anything, she added, "Didn't she?" Lila and Ridley went door to door, peering into the shadowed rooms. Most were empty. In a couple, there was wallpaper hanging from the walls in great, droopy strips. Some rooms had furniture piled up in corners, and rugs were rolled and stacked in others. Except for a trail of dusty footprints that led down the hallway, everything looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. Ridley took Lila's wrist and stopped her from opening another door. "You've been acting strange this week. I'm worried about you." Lila tried to play it off. "Strange? In what way?" Ridley held out her hand for Lila to shake. Lila grasped it, wondering what trick her friend had up her sleeve. After Ridley let go, Lila glanced at her palm. The word "strange" had appeared in black ink on her skin. "In that way," Ridley smirked. "But seriously, is everything okay?" Lila laughed. "I have no idea what you're talking about. At first, I figured that Basso's monkey showing up at your place in the middle of the night was bugging you. But when I thought about it, I realized something was wrong even before that. You haven't been yourself ever since the incident with the stolen diamond." Lila found her hand drifting to the key on the string. "Oh, I guess it was kind of scary to see my favorite people in danger like that." Ridley stared at Lila in silence for a couple seconds, then nodded. "Fair enough. Just know that if you ever need to talk, about anything, I'm here for you. We all are, the misfits, I mean." "Oh, I know that, Ridley." Lila squeezed her friend's shoulder. "You didn't even need to say it." "But that's the thing," Ridley replied. "I think I did." Lila knew that Ridley was right. There was a lot about Lila's life she had never told anyone in Mineral Wells, not even her father's. She didn't want to make anyone feel bad for her. It was just easier to lock her old memories away and hide them behind a smile. You see, the thing about smiling is that if you do it often enough, it can actually make you happier. Lila had learned this early on. It was one of her best tricks. Ridley's concern touched Lila's heart. She might cry or confess everything to Ridley if she didn't do something. So she reached out and turned the doorknob. Peering into the darkness, she could make out framed posters hanging on the opposite wall. Names on the posters looked familiar. She had seen them in books and on pictures that decorated Vernon's magic shop. Thurston, Keller, Houdini, Alexander, the man who knows. We found it! Lila rushed into the room with Ridley just behind her. In the dim light, they stared at the old posters, which were advertisements for long-ago performances at the Grand Theater. Lila reached toward a window curtain to draw it aside and bring light into the room. But Ridley cried, "Stop!" And Lila froze. "Someone outside might see us. I know the outer door was open, but I doubt the manager would be happy that we strolled right in. I have a better solution." Wheeling over to where Lila was standing, Ridley lowered her voice and said, "Behold." Raising her right hand, she snapped her fingers. A little flame floated a few inches above her pointer finger, providing just enough light for Lila to see by. Lila squeaked in surprise and then clapped. By the flickering light of Ridley's finger, Lila noticed a dozen or more symbols carved into one portion of the wall. "Wow," Lila whispered. She ran her fingers over the carvings as if she could read them that way. Many of them were simply the suits from playing cards: diamonds, clubs, hearts, and spades. Inside a few of the hearts, someone had carved out what looked like initials. And it looks like this. If these were left by the emerald ring, Lila wondered aloud, what do K and A stand for? "I don't know," Ridley answered, "but a few of these initials look like they were crossed out. Weird. Guess someone had a bad breakup." Lila considered the wall. Or one person carved the initials and someone else crossed them out. And the first person came back and carved them again. And the other person came back and crossed them out again. If that's true, it could be one reason why the Magic Club broke apart. Love. Ridley spoke that last word as if she were chewing a large mouthful of tripe stew. "Do you think it could have turned into hate?" Lila asked, wondering what role her dad may have played in this old game. Ridley sighed. "Love doesn't need to transform into anything other than itself in order for people to get hurt. At least that's what I've gathered from reading my mom's novels. I've never been in love." Lila snickered. "Me neither." She glanced at the initials and the symbols, imagining the drama that must have unfolded in this very room. Had her dad and Carter's dad practiced their first magic tricks here? Had they argued about who should belong in the emerald ring and who shouldn't? Could this be the room where the old club had broken apart? Look over here. These symbols are different. Just below the poster advertising a show featuring Alexander, the man who knows, a few more carvings stood out. They were more detailed than the simple playing card suits. One looked like a stick with leaves growing from it. The second was a star inside a circle. Another looked like a chalice. The last symbol was half hidden on the wall underneath the poster frame. Lila removed the poster, revealing the carving to be a sword. "I've seen these before," said Lila. Ridley's eyes lit up with recognition. "Wand, coin, cup, and sword," she said. "They're suits from a deck of cards. Tarot cards. Fortune tellers use them to divine your future." "Sandra brought over a pack this morning," said Lila. "I think my dad keeps a couple tarot decks in his office. He doesn't use them. He just likes the illustrations." "It would make sense then, if Sandra carved these symbols here a long time ago," Ridley noted. "The question is, why?" Lila glanced down at the back of the poster and gasped. She turned the frame so that Ridley could see the black ink scribbled onto the cardboard. It was a sentence, a message. Ridley leaned close as Lila crouched and sat on her heels. Lila handed the poster to Ridley and went to the door, calling all the others, "Hey, we found something!" The misfits all came running. Noticing the carvings on the wall, Carter said, "Tarot symbols." He glanced at Lila, seemingly remembering her divination from that morning. Was Sandra here? Okay, Ada, don't worry. If we miss you, if you have to pop out, it's okay. Once upon a time, perhaps, they crowded around Ridley's chair and examined the writing on the back of the framed poster by the light of her finger's flame. Theo read the message aloud. Where action meets thought, we discover reward. Seems like some sort of pledge, said Lila. Ridley nodded. Maybe it's a motto that the Emerald Ring once used to start their meetings. Or maybe it's a secret code, said Carter. Or a riddle, Izzy suggested. Oh, we just love riddles, said Ollie, right, Izzy? Positively. Here's one. What was the psychic medium's secret hobby? I know, said Ollie. She was a ghostwriter. If it is a riddle, said Lila, maybe Sandra left it here to point somebody toward something. Or someone, said Carter. Or somewhere, Theo added. Whatever it was pointing toward, said Lila, I'll bet it's still here, somewhere in the abandoned wing. Even after all this time, asked Ridley. According to Dean the bellhop, there was that fire. She wiggled her fingers and the flame sparked. And then the water damage? She shifted in her wheelchair, and a fine mist shot out from the handlebars, spraying the group. They flinched and jumped away as Ridley chuckled. And then the termites. She moved her elbow, and one of the secret compartments sprang open, plastic bugs from Vernon's shop leaping out, making everyone jolt in surprise. Clever, said Carter, impressed. Lila wouldn't be distracted. It can't hurt to keep looking. We didn't find anything on the other side of the hallway, said Ollie. Except for some mousetraps, said Izzy, which I stayed far away from. She peeked into her pocket to make sure her mouse was safe and sound. There was a set of stairs at the end of the hallway, said Theo. I think they led down to a basement. The misfits looked at one another with fear in their faces. Carter spoke up. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that the scariest places have the biggest reward. Reward, Lila echoed, just like the where action meets thought. Come on, everyone, follow me. Okay, one more chapter. 16. Staring into the darkness from the top of the staircase, Theo asked, Are you sure you all want to do this? You're welcome to wait up here with me, said Ridley. There's no way I can make it down these steps. We'll be quick, said Lila. Carter removed his flashlight from his satchel. You know, there are things other than ghosts that should make us nervous. So everyone be careful, he said, taking the first step down. Lila, Theo, and Ollie crept slowly after him. Ridley and Izzy stayed behind. At the bottom, okay, bye, Joey. At the bottom, Carter's flashlight swept across the stone floor below and the cobweb-covered rafters overhead. Lila could barely see. She heard the others trample down the steps behind her. Theo and Ollie brushed against her on either side, clutching at her arms. It was so quiet that Lila could hear her friends breathing. She felt something pull against her ankle like a string or a wire, and she nearly tripped. But before she could check it out, something tall and pale appeared in the far corner. Lila gasped as Carter shone his light at it. Like something from a bad dream, a human skeleton jumped out. Its arms and legs shivered and shook as it slowly moved toward her. Carter froze in his tracks, the light trembling in his hand. Ollie and Theo shrieked, and Lila leapt away from them. The skeleton jittered forward, then to her surprise, it dropped in a heap on the floor. From up the stairs, Ridley cried out, Is everyone okay up there, down there? Carter crept toward the pile of bones, keeping the light steady. Lila gulped down a hard knob that had moved into her esophagus. She was worried that the thing might jump up again and attack. Wires, Carter whispered to himself. He reached out and grabbed what looked like fishing lines dangling down from a railing. Lila caught a glimpse of the light reflecting off of them. How bizarre, said Theo. A rail was attached to the rafters. Following the light, Lila noticed where the rail originated, a far corner of the space. Her face lit up like a bonfire when Carter shifted his beam and briefly blinded her. Hey, Ridley shouted. You guys are scaring us up here. Don't worry yourselves, Lila called. Just had a bit of a fright is all. I'll go get them, said Ollie. He rushed back up the stairs. Carter wandered toward the corner, exploring the spot where the skeleton had come from. Lila raced over to him, not wanting to be left in the dark. What is it? Said Ridley, edging down the stairs in her chair with Ollie and Izzy's help, step by careful step. A booby trap, said Theo, staring up at the rail. Someone rigged up a tripwire and a fake skeleton. There's probably a hidden system of pulleys somewhere nearby. Over time, the wires must have decayed. That's why it fell to the floor. But why set up a booby trap? Ollie asked, reaching into his pocket and pulling out his mouse. He nuzzled it with his nose. Izzy nudged his shoulder. Obviously, it was to trap a booby. Carter laughed. No, they did it to scare people away, a classic trick. Was this before or after the fire, the flood, the mold, and the infestation? Ridley asked. I'm sure my dad would know, said Lila. I wonder what they were trying to scare people away from. Pirate treasure, said Izzy. That's usually what dancing skeletons are for. Mineral Wells is landlocked, silly, Ridley scoffed, and she rolled across the bumpy stone floor. Would have been kind of difficult for pirates to get up through these hills to us landlubbers, don't you think? Maybe the Emerald Ring was trying to scare people away from this corner, said Carter, who was focusing on the floor and the basement walls near where he was standing. There didn't seem to be anything remarkable about the spot. The stones there were smooth and grouted with old, crumbly cement. But we all know that magicians are about misdirection, Lila stated. I doubt Sandra or the others in the old club would have set up a trap that pointed directly to the place they were trying to keep secret. She nodded at the track that ran across the ceiling, the path that the skeleton had danced along. More likely, they'd choose the other side of the room. Curious, Carter shone his light at the opposite corner. To Lila's surprise, the stones in the floor over there looked different. They had white markings on them. Together, the magic misfits rushed to check them out. In the center of each stone was a faint image drawn in chalk. Lila gasped. These are the symbols from the tarot deck, she said, just like the ones carved into the wall upstairs. Ridley pushed through the others to get a better view. Lila's right. The suits, swords, cups, coins, and wands. Every stone in this particular corner was marked with one of these small icons. They practically glowed under the flashlight beam. You think Sandra did this? Carter asked. Maybe, Lila answered, uncertain. Why here? Theo studied the floor. What is the significance? The riddle, Ridley whispered. Where action meets thought, we discover reward. Reward, said Izzy. Wow, we found it. We're rich, said Ollie. Flat out stinking rich. Izzy did a little tap dance. I'm going to get a pony and a pony for Illy. Ollie's eyes went wide as his imagination went wild. And I'm going to buy the world's biggest ice cream sundae and a new mouse house for Ozzy. Lila shook her head. We have to figure out what it means first. Ridley, what else do you know about the tarot symbols? Way too much for me to remember right now, Ridley said. I do know that the symbols on these stones are connected to the suits on the playing cards. Coins are like diamonds, representing wealth or security. Wands are like clubs, symbols of action and inspiration. Cups are hearts, vessels that can be full or empty. And swords equate to spades, sharp tools that cut and divide like thought and analysis, helping us to reach the secret center of what we desire. Theo gasped, smacking his fist into his palm. That's it. He glanced at the others. Ridley just said it herself. Wands are like clubs, action. Swords are like spades, thought. Where action meets thought. We need to find a stone marked with both a wand and a sword, said Lila. Carter handed the flashlight to Ridley, and the rest of the misfits got down on their hands and knees to search. Lila knelt by a stone where the image of a wooden wand crossed the image of a gleaming sword. I found it! And that's where we will stop today. Okay. Cliffhanger. So today is Tuesday. So is anybody planning to come to drop in office hours with me at 2 o'clock? Did you have a question? Okay, just a couple of you. All right, so I will be available for that. And if I don't see you this afternoon, then I will see you tomorrow. Okay. That is all. Oh, I did want to tell you that I posted a couple things on Google Classroom that hopefully you have noticed. I posted the upper L results from the cardboard contest. Those were the upper L projects for you to see. And I also posted a self-guided lesson on land and water forms. So I won't be hosting that lesson. You are going you have that available to do anytime that's convenient for you.
Okay.
But you can certainly get in touch with me if you do some follow-up for that, or if you need some ideas to do some follow-up. Okay. I'll see some of you at drop-in hours at 2 o'clock, and otherwise I'll see the rest of you tomorrow.
See you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Bye,
Adam.
everybody. Bye, Axel.
Bye.
Bye, Adam.
Bye.
Mama.
Bye.
Bye.
Kaya, did it work out for you?
Yeah.
I know you were having a lot of trouble with your internet. I'm sorry about that.
Bye, Miss Fortune.
Bye, Axel.
Fortune.
Yes, Sam.
Did you get the instructions that
I did. I'm planning on posting those today so the kids will be able to see them tomorrow.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, thank you for those. Thanks for sending those along.
Bye.
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 Bye, guys.